Welcome to Middle Class Matters. We will discuss on business news in English from Dr. CMV Allegation. We will discuss on Hindenburg Research Adani Report. Title is Adani Group. How the world's third richest man is pulling the largest con in corporate history, which is published on January 24th, 2023. The report is going to be read in various parts in full without editing, adding or subtracting to the report as published by it. Today, we reveal the findings of our 2-year investigation presenting evidence that the INR 17.8 trillion US dollar $218 billion Indian conglomerate Adani Group has engaged in a brazen stock manipulation and accounting fraud scheme over the course of decades. Gautam Adani, founder and chairman of the Adani Group, has amassed a net worth of roughly $120 billion, adding over $100 billion in the past 3 years, largely through stock price appreciation in the group's 7 key listed companies, which have spiked an average of 819% in that period. That is 8.19 times the stocks has raised. Our research involved speaking with dozens of individuals, including former senior executives of the Adani Group, reviewing thousands of documents and conducting diligence site visits in almost half a dozen countries. Even if you ignore the findings of our investigation and take the financials of Adani Group at face value, its 7 key listed companies have 85% downside purely on a fundamental basis owing to sky-high valuations. Key listed Adani companies have also taken on substantial debt, including pledging shares of their inflated stock for loans, putting the entire group on precarious financial footing. 5 of 7 key listed companies have reported current ratios below 1, indicating near-term liquidity pressure. The group's very top ranks and 8 of 22 key leaders are Adani family members, a dynamic that places control of the group's financials and key decisions in the hands of a few. A former executive described the Adani Group as a family business. The Adani Group has previously been the focus of 4 major government fraud investigations which have allegedly money laundering, theft of taxpayer funds and corruption, totaling an estimated US dollars 17 billion. Adani family members allegedly cooperated to create offshore shell companies in tax haven jurisdictions like Mauritius, the UAE and Caribbean islands, generating forged import-export documentation in an apparent effort to generate fake or illegitimate turnover and to siphon money from the listed companies. Gautam Adani's younger brother, Rajesh Adani, was accused by the Directorate of Revenue Intelligence (DRI) of playing a central role in a diamond trading import-export scheme around 2004-2005. The alleged scheme involved the use of offshore shell entities to generate artificial turnover. Rajesh was arrested at least twice over separate allegations of forgery and tax fraud. He was subsequently promoted to serve as managing director of Adani Group. Gautam Adani's brother-in-law Samir Vora was accused by the DRI of being a ringleader of the same diamond trading scam and of repeatedly making false statements to regulators. He was subsequently promoted to Executive Director of the critical Adani Australia division. Gautam Adani's elder brother, Vinod Adani, has been described by media as an elusive figure. He has regularly been found at the center of the government's investigations into Adani for his alleged role in managing a network of offshore entities used to facilitate fraud. Our research, which included downloading and cataloging the entire Mauritius corporate registry, has uncovered that Vinod Adani, through several close associates, manages a vast labyrinth of offshore shell entities. We have identified 38 Mauritius shell entities controlled by Vinod Adani or close associates. We have identified entities that are also surreptitiously controlled by Vinod Adani in Cyprus, the UAE, Singapore, and several Caribbean islands. Many of Vinod Adani associated entities have no obvious signs of operations, including no reported employees, no independent addresses or phone numbers, and no meaningful online presence. Despite this, they have collectively moved billions of dollars into Indian Adani publicly listed and private entities, often without required disclosure of the related party nature of the deals. We have also uncovered rudimentary efforts seemingly designed to mask the nature of some of the shell entities. For example, 13 websites were created for Vinod Adani associated entities. Many were suspiciously formed on the same days, featuring only stock photos, naming no actual employees, and listing the same set of nonsensical services such as consumption abroad and commercial presence. The Vinod Adani shells seem to serve several functions, including stock parking and stock manipulation. 2. And laundering money through Adani's private companies onto the listed companies' balance sheets in order to maintain the appearance of financial health and solvency. Publicly listed companies in India are subject to rules that require all promoter holdings, known as insider holding in the US, to be disclosed. Rules also require that listed companies have at least 25% of the float held by non-promoters in order to mitigate manipulation and insider trading. 4. Four of Adani's listed companies are on the brink of the delisting threshold due to high promoter ownership. Our research indicates that offshore shells and funds tied to the Adani Group comprise many of the largest public, that is non-promoter holders of Adani stock, an issue that would subject the Adani companies to delisting, where Indian securities regulator SEBI's rules enforced. Many of the supposed public funds exhibit flagrant irregularities, such as being 1. Mauritius or offshore based entities, often shells. 2. With beneficial ownership concealed via nominee directors. 3. And with little to no diversification, holding portfolios almost exclusively consisting of shares in Adani listed companies. Right to information RTI request we filed with SEBI confirmed that the offshore funds are the subjects of an ongoing investigation. More than a year and a half after concerns were initially raised by media and members of parliament. a former trader for Elora, an offshore fund with almost $3 billion in concentrated holdings of Adani shares, including a fund that is 99% concentrated in shares of Adani, told us that it is obvious that Adani controls these shares. He explained that the funds are intentionally structured to conceal their ultimate beneficial ownership. Leaked emails shows that the CEO of Elara worked on deals with Dharmesh Doshi, a fugitive accountant who worked closely on stock manipulation deals with Ketan Parekh, an infamous Indian market manipulator. The emails indicate that the CEO of Elara worked with Doshi on stock deals after he evaded arrest and was widely known as a fugitive. Another firm called Montessori Investment Holdings controls 5 supposedly independent funds that collectively hold over INR 360 billion, US dollar 4.5 billion in shares of listed Adani companies, according to Legal Entity Identifier (LEI) data and Indian Stock Exchange. Montessori's chairman and CEO served as director in 3 companies alongside a fugitive diamond merchant who allegedly stole US dollar 1 billion before fleeing India. Vinod Adani's daughter married the fugitive diamond merchant's son. A once related party entity of Adani invested heavily in one of the Montessori fund that allocated to Adani Enterprises and Adani Power, according to corporate records, drawing a clear line between the Adani group and the suspect offshore funds. Another Cyprus-based entity called New Linena Investments until June-September 2021 owned over US dollar 420 million in Adani Green Energy shares, comprising 95% of its portfolio. Parliamentary record shows it was and may still be a shareholder of other Adani listed entities. New Lizenia is operated by Incorporation Services from AmiCorp, which has worked extensively to aid Adani in developing its offshore entity network. AmiCorp formed at least 7 Adani promoted entities, at least 17 offshore shells and entities associated with Vinod Adani, and at least 3 Mauritius-based offshore shareholders of Adani stock. Part 2 will continue in the next video. Please like the video, subscribe to the channel. Thanks for watching.